Now cross to Neil Velazvinich, who's International Affairs Professor at Durham University. Thank you for being on our program. Now, I don't know if you've watched the testimony, but it was incredibly long and incredibly divisive. What's the effect that it's had on Americans?
Well, I think that we can already see the effects that it's had on the American public in public polling. And usually, when it comes to public opinion on Supreme Court nominees, even if the Supreme Court nominee is more ideologically inclined one way or another, historically, traditionally, the public has been willing to give Supreme Court nominees the benefit of the doubt, as long as they're qualified and they seem impartial. It doesn't. The American public sort of usually a plurality of respondents in these polls sort of say that they're okay with a judge as long as they have the temperament for the position. Now, when you look at the polls on Kavanaugh, it's very deeply divided. He's polarized along with the rest of the American public on this, and you can sort of see the deep divisions in his support. And he has the lowest support among the American public that's been recorded for since the 80s, really. So this is kind of exceptional.
Now, a lot of women are particularly looking at this case and how it's developing. If he is nominated, what kind of message does it send to women of America?
Well, I think it plays into kind of a theme that has been ongoing since Trump was elected president, but is really going to become a big deal in the upcoming midterm elections, which is this theme that about women and violence against women and sort of people who are apologists for sexual misconduct. And ever since the Me Too movement, this has become much more of a salient issue. And if you look at the data, you can sort of see that the Democrats have really claimed the high ground on this particular issue. Like the argument is that Trump doesn't care about these things, and there are a number of accusations that dog the president himself. And I think that Kavanaugh's nomination, and if he's confirmed, it would kind of reinforce this narrative the Democrats have going into the midterm election. And you can sort of see that Republicans are doing really poorly among women, and kind of even more middle upper income educated women that have actually traditionally voted Republican, they seem to be turning their backs on the Republican Party. And I don't think that this will help them, at least in that respect.
And do we have any indication of how, if this vote does go to the full Senate next week, how senators are going to vote? Because we know that the Republicans have a wafer-thin majority there.
Yeah, so there are a couple different dynamics that are going on here that kind of make it complicated to guess how it's going to go. So you have Republicans who sit in more left-leaning states like Sue Collins in Maine, and and Lisa Murkowski in Alaska. I mean, that's not a left-leaning state, but she's known to be pro-choice. And you have Democrats who are sitting in more right-leaning states, and they haven't declared their intentions yet. That's why there's a high degree of uncertainty here. But I would be surprised if. At this point, especially given that Jeff Flake has just announced his support for Kavanaugh, I'd be surprised if Kavanaugh fails in a floor vote. And what usually happens is that when it becomes clear that the nominee is not going to make it through the vote, he or she withdraws, and they put forward a new person. Now, the problem with that for Republicans is that they're running out of time before the election. So they either need to get this done now or replace him with somebody new, or they're going to miss their opportunity before the election. That's something that they don't want to happen.
Okay, Neil Velazvinich, thank you very much for that analysis.